Hello, and thank you for joining me for my final presentation for the capstone course for the Master in Education program at Northeastern University. My name is Andrew Fong, and this is called Navigating the Financial Issue. Quick introduction. The overarching theme of this program focuses on the current financial situation within the realm of higher education. Given that we were to act as consultants for this project, the consultation in this case was requested by the Director of Enrollment for a mid-sized private institution, and the charge was to determine the impact that the current financial situation within higher education will directly have on enrollments at the institution. A quick overview of the issue at hand. The importance of a college education, particularly in today's economy, cannot be overstated. The economic divide between those with a college degree and those without is vast, with degree holders earning on average $17,500 more per year than their peers without a degree. Additionally, the unemployment rate for non-degree holders is 15% higher. While these statistics illustrate the value of earning a college education, unfortunately the cost associated with it has become challenging, if not prohibitive, for many. Tuition rates continue to rise, forcing more and more students to take out loans in an effort to support their education. As such, a 2013 CNN article found that college students graduate with student debt, on average, topping $29,000. What's more, 17% of these same students are behind in their payments or in default. The end result, and the true issue at play here, is that potential students are stuck with a difficult decision. Attend college and almost certainly take on the burden of overwhelming debt, or forego college altogether. There are four major historical shifts to consider here. First, the shifting of a fluid economy. Next, the establishment of the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, commonly referred to as the GI Bill of Rights. Then the establishment of federal programs like the Federal Perkins Loan Program. And finally, the shift from federal lending to private lending. Now, going back to the shifting of a fluid economy, this is something that occurs throughout the course of history. Our economy is not static, it is fluid and influenced by various factors on a daily basis. This, of course, directly contributes to the college costs and the consumer's ability to afford it. Next, the GI Bill of Rights was signed into law after World War II to help servicemen reintegrate into society. The bill, among other things, made the possibility of a previously out-of-reach idea of attending college a reality by eliminating the cost for servicemen. The program was a huge success, enrolling 10 times the amount of students the bill had initially predicted. For the establishment of federal programs, the federal program, such as the Federal Perkins Loan Program, were established as a direct result of the successes of the GI Bill. These programs helped to erase the sticker shock of the cost of an education and made the prospect of attending college realistic for more and more families. And finally, the shift from federal lending to private lending refers actually back to bullet point number 1 of our fluid economy, because as negative shifts occurred within the economy, there are also shifts away from federal funding toward private loans, which is how many people fund their education today. Students and their families were now put in a situation where they were to either pay out of pocket, which is not realistic for most, or take out huge loans with interest rates at a time when college inflation rates have risen by 500%. So when you break it down to its core, college is about a relationship between the provider of the service, which would be the college or university, and the consumer, the student and their families. These two parties are impacted a great deal by the financial component of a college education, and as such, it would be irresponsible to consider the current state of finances in higher education without first considering the perspective of each party involved. Here for students, we're considering dreams, goals, passion, and ignorance, as well as their difficult decision. Today, attending college after high school is more like the logical next step in someone's life, rather than the privilege that it was many years ago. Many children grow up with the idea that you grow older, you go to college, you get a job. It's the natural progression that our parents instill into our minds. As such, we develop dreams of what our careers will be, what colleges we want to go to, and how everything will be according to plan, until that first bill comes. Forever we tell our children that you can be anything you want if you work hard enough. However, for many, no amount of work can offset that bill. This is why we mention passion and ignorance. Students develop a passion for their goals, and when that passion meets an obstacle, it makes way for ignorance. Big picture reasons for college costs are not comprehensible to the student because it interferes with following their passion. As such, students are often left with that difficult decision. Go to college and prepare for overwhelming debt, or give up on their dream and take another path. It's a heartbreaking decision that young people are forced to make all too often within the current higher education system. Now, from the perspective of the institution, we have big picture financial planning as well as a multitude of expenses required to run an institution, which need to be paid for. Previous slides spoke of ignorance. Students know that they're paying a lot of money to attend college, but they don't always know where that money is going. Students aren't privy to operating costs or costs of maintaining facilities. They don't consider the salaries of every employee or faculty member they encounter. There are myriad costs to running an institution effectively that students are ignorant to. While it does always hurt to pay such a large amount of money for their education, perhaps students would feel somewhat better or more understanding if they knew why each and every dollar was so important to the institution. And then there are some external players involved as well, such as accreditation agencies, and as we know, some federal funding is made available through the process of accreditation. These accrediting agencies play a major role in providing legitimacy for an institution, while it also opens doors to access that federal funding I mentioned through things like grants and loans. This is, of course, one way to help offset costs. However, available funds are certainly not enough to fix the issue entirely and serve only as sort of a helpful band-aid for certain situations here. It's also important to note that institutions are only eligible for funding if they meet the criteria of accrediting or accreditation. Almost always, institutions do meet these criteria. However, many organizations, individuals, groups are actually calling out accrediting agencies in relation to the college graduate unemployment rate. Yes, the economy does play a role here, but there is something to be said when graduates of accredited institutions, which are supposed to be of high strength and vigor, are still struggling to find work. So what are some recommendations that we have for this institution moving forward? Well, first of all, there is no easy answer or a quick fix, and often what works for one institution will not always work for another. However, we do have 4 major recommendations for this institution. First, find what makes your price tag worth it and market it. Statistics show that a college degree is the best catalyst for professional success. As such, regardless of cost, most will still try to attend. So instead of trying to convince a student to go to college, convince them why they should go to your college. What makes you unique? Why would an employer choose your degree over another? What unique services do you offer that no one else does? This should be central in the recruitment strategy. Once students accept that they will have to pay for college, convince them that your price tag is worth it. Next, postgraduate employment and salary statistics. The university should complete a comprehensive study on postgraduate employment and salary statistics for as large a sample size as possible. Make this information public. For most, the biggest apprehension to attending college is paying so much for that education without a guarantee of it paying off for them. Prove that your institution has a good track record of placing your graduates into high-paying jobs. This will strengthen the value of your degree and will also prove to potential students that there is a return on their investment. Next, review current institutional practice. Institutions need to review current practices to ensure that they are aligned with current best practices and trends. Many opportunities for change may arise, many of which can help lead to significant budgetary shift. Some things to consider here would be things like tenure versus non-tenure faculty and how that affects salary, which could have a significant impact on budgetary restrictions. And another option would be discussing things like the utilization of technology in pedagogy and how its implementation might be able to help save money here or there, which again will have an impact on overall budgetary elements to the process. And finally, which might be probably the most important one, is to involve current students in the process. With all of these recommendations, students should always be involved in every step of the way. As I mentioned before, this is a relationship between the university and the students. That is what the organizational development is of a college agreement with a student and the institution. So with that relationship, these students should be involved in the processes as well. This will also give students a sense of pride and ownership in this process, and they'll know that their feedback is valuable to the institution. They'll feel as though their voice is heard and that they have actually made an impact on the processes of the university that they call a home. And that is something that is very, very valuable to a student as well, to feel as though they've made a difference in something important. So in closing, I'd just like to say, higher education and the cost of obtaining one, as we've discussed, will always be at the forefront of American thought. What was once something that perhaps the wealthy and elite participated in to stoke their intellectual fire, higher education has become a necessity in modern American life, serving as sort of a rite of passage into adulthood. It has become expected that our children enroll in college upon completing high school. However, with that expectation also comes a burdensome invoice. There are many arguments that can be made when considering the current financial situation within the world of education. However, I believe that Aristotle said it best, and I'll leave you with this quote: "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are sweet." And again, I'd like to thank you for taking a few minutes to listen to this presentation, and I do hope that it was insightful, and I appreciate you taking this time. And just a quick look at some of the references that we used for this presentation. Thank you very much.